Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Free at Last podcast. I'm Mick.
And I'm Tammy.
And we're coming to you live from the Appalachian Mountains right here in the home of Eastern Kentucky. And we are very excited tonight. I've been excited all day for this podcast, and we know God is going to touch different people. And Sister Tammy, go ahead and give the people some info on our guest.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
That's from the
Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man, yeah. So we're going back a little old school tonight, and our special guest is international speaker and author Mark Smith, and he's a former WCW wrestler. And he's going to be talking about his experience in the wrestling industry and also his experience into the kingdom of God. He ministers today, him and his wife. They have foster children, and he goes all over sharing the gospel. And so it's really an honor and a privilege to have him tonight.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome Mark Smith.
Man,
hey,
what
Mark.
do you know there were these many people there? Sounded like
Well, it's like I can see
class.
you, but I can't hear you.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
Let's see.
But they can't hear us.
But they can't. Y'all
We're trying
cannot
to get
hear me.
Mark in here on audio. We have him on video.
Yes, I will continue to speak.
Mick is working behind the scenes.
It always happens when you bring the big axe in. Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes. Can you
Okay,
hear
there
me?
you are.
Okay.
There you are.
Woo! All right. Good.
So has with him his wife, Brenda. So we
Come on,
welcome.
Brenda. Wheel over.
I'm
Wheel
close as I
over.
can get.
Here, Brenda. I'm going to get you. When we were talking a little bit before the air, Brenda and I were not on the video. So we went live, and now we're on video. So now we're having to get into position. So guys, if you're watching, we're not, well, she's not dumb, I am, but we just had to get positioned, okay?
Oh, trust me, our audience is used to our unprofessionalism.
Well, when you start to do something, and we have found this out, and you probably can relate as well, when you go to do something for the Lord, there's like technology demons or something that come in and try to just interrupt and disrupt what's going on and what's going to take place. So,
yeah, we were actually in a church about 3 years ago, and some people were considering on doing a documentary on us. So we were going to have a concert that night. We did have the concert, and it was going to last about an hour and 15 minutes or so, something like that.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, for about a 10-minute spot, all the power everywhere went out.
Wow.
Oh, no.
So my daughter happened to be singing. She has sung at the Ryman Auditorium and things like that. And so she just stopped and giggled, and then she just started singing again a cappella.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really something. So yeah, we've seen this stuff happen, but we are so glad to be here. And I'm just seeing these viewers. Let's see, I'm blind as a bat.
Yeah.
George,
Really
hello,
close.
George.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
You probably
I'm
shouldn't
sorry.
get so close to the camera. You're going to scare people.
That's true. That's true. You know, she's really honest. That's the
I'm
thing.
honest.
I've worked in Washington.
I
She
have to
hasn't.
be.
She stayed honest.
So we know that you are an international speaker and author, and you have written the book entitled Wrestling with Demons. So do you want to start out a little bit with your history in wrestling and how you got started?
Well, I did not know Brenda while I was wrestling. I was actually in another relationship that ended in divorce. And out of wrestling for about a year to a year and a half, we had grown up like within a mile of each other. She knew just a little about me because was my mama your mama's Avon lady?
I didn't know you existed, but your mother was my mother's Avon lady.
Avon lady. Okay. Anyway.
He's a lot older than me. You probably can't tell, but he's so much older than me.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll fight afterwards. No, I'm kidding.
None of this robbing the cradle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It definitely gets the politicians in trouble. I wouldn't want to do it.
Anyway.
But anyway, yeah. But I actually was going out and just like having brunch and things with a friend of hers. And it was not serious or anything like that. Anyway, what did your friend your friend told you she wasn't serious and I wasn't serious. So what did your friend say?
Well, no, after church one Sunday night, I was invited to go with y'all to Del Taco. And
now that is a plug for Del Taco, not meant to be. So I request free tacos from Del Taco. Del Taco, I'm lit. Okay.
Anyway. And she called me later and said, well, what do you think about him? And I knew she wasn't that interested. So I said, well, I would date him. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean,
if you were done with wrestling, then I think they want you to go back to that.
What now?
That was after wrestling. I think they want you to go back to wrestling.
Oh, wrestling. Okay, yeah. Anyway, through the CTE and everything, she really helps. And so anyway, we went. The wrestling. It was after wrestling I met Brenda, but I was in another relationship. And pro wrestling, when we had our little talk yesterday, guys, just kind of getting to know each other. And I think someone asked me, either it was about wrestling, what did I get out of it? Or it was something like that. Anyway, when you grow up in a home, my dad was really abusive, and when you grow up in a home, the damage to the child can be in many areas. And I think the way that I was probably damaged the most was fear and insecurity. My mom did a great job, but I was insecure. And when you're insecure, you don't feel like you're anybody. You just feel like you're a nobody. I mean, and when I say nobody, I'm not talking about a person that works in a grocery store. I'm saying you just feel like you're nothing.
Yeah.
You're not worth the air you're breathing. And so for me, pro wrestling, what it did was it made me feel special in a way that I was able to go out and do things that I knew hundreds of thousands of people wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that probably sounds cocky. And honestly, when I was wrestling, I was a mean guy, and cocky is what I was. But, through the grace of God, I'm able to look back on it. I appreciate the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Because the good helped me in so many ways. The bad taught me a lot of lessons that when me and God had our little throwdown, I understood the things I really didn't want to be anymore. I ate a lot of humble pie, and so
what was like your breakthrough into the industry of pro wrestling?
A guy named Mark Scarpa. Now, people do not know his daddy by Joe Scarpa. They know his daddy by Chief Jay Strongbow. that was a big wrestler in the WWF and in the WWF before it became WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Scarpa was one of the head bookers for Vince. And I know, Joe's gone on to his reward or whatever. And I got to tell you, I know he's glad he's not up there in all this mess now. I mean, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But Mark came to me. I was working at our family gas station, and he saw me lifting U-Haul equipment. And he said, "My gosh," he says, "what are you lifting?" I said, "Well, last time I was at the gym, I was doing so-and-so. I wasn't going to the gym a lot."
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I think I had like a 42-inch waist, a 56-inch chest, a 22-inch neck, and I was bench pressing around 350.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I could leg press about 600 to 700. So I'd gained some strength and some size. He said, "Man, you look good." He said, "Come on, just go with me. There's somewhere I want to take you." I said, "Well, okay, whatever, Mark." "Yeah, man." He said, "I'll come by, pick you up." Well, he comes by, picks me up, and carries me to these woods. And I know Mark's not going to take me snipe hunting because I'm old. Well, back then I was already too old for that mess. And I got 2 boys that are waiting for me to take them snipe hunting. They came in last night. They said, "Daddy, we've been talking about it 6 months. Will you please take me snipe hunting now?" So we're coming up with a snipe hunt.
Yeah.
But he took me to these woods, and there was a 18-foot by 18-foot wrestling ring set up in the woods. And I'm thinking, do squirrels have WrestleMania? I mean, I don't know. Why is this thing out in the woods? So, anyway, we got in the ring. I already knew some stuff, some different moves and so forth. We did them. And he said, "You need to get in it." And he was working for a guy named Don Owens up in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And was making really good money. So I thought, well, heck, yeah, I'll do it. Well, anyway, I went and I had a relative take me to a used car dealer. Well, the used car dealer, the owner, used to be the manager of the old Massed Medics. So, and he was a feeble man with a hunched over. I mean, he looked like a former wrestler, but he was thin as all get out. He just looked like your old typical wrestling manager,
Yeah.
He could snarl. Oh my gosh, that man could snarl. Bless his heart. Sweet as he could be, but he could snarl. He'd scare a bird. But anyhow, his name was Bill. Bill said, "So you want to wrestle?" I said, "Well, yes, sir." I said, "I went out to a ring with Mark Scarpa, and he thinks I've got something. I'd like to try it." He said, "A lot more. Most people don't make it."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, yes, sir. We'll certainly give it a try, though." I said, "I'd appreciate it." And he picked up the phone and he called a guy that named Art Pritz. And he's going, he tells Art about me and, yeah, that sounds good. About a 1-inch. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, anyway, so we meet out at our civic, it's a city park, but the civic building or whatever it is. Got the basketball court, I meet Art there. "Art Pritz, how you doing?" "Hey, how are you, sir?" "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "Well, we're going to start. I'm going to teach you a few basics." He said, "You see that mat over there?" And it was a 1-inch collegiate wrestling mat. Those mats are not soft.
Yeah.
He said, "Pull it over there on that concrete." And that's where I trained for 4 months. I took body slams, backdrops on concrete.
Wow.
People don't train like that now.
No. Now, did you receive, we talked about you had some concussions. Were they prior to you getting into the industry, like
No, I
during
got
these
those.
times?
I earned those in the ring. I
Uh-huh.
earned them. I got receipts for those things. And, but yeah, I mean, on any given night, really, if you watch a wrestling match, there is some point where one of the competitors are either you're going to see their head go back too fast and hit the mat. You're going to see a whiplash. You're going to see something. Come to find out that those even something like, they used to say, got my, my marbles, kind of
Ring your bell.
ring my bell. Yeah. After you ring your bell enough, your brain feels like it is marbles. It's so many parts jingling in there. But anyway, yeah. Just about every match, and almost, I'd say almost every match, somebody walks out. It can be minor, but they walk out with some type of concussion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, I earned them. And anyway, after 4 months, I wrestled one of the Mass Medics came out of retirement. Bill was there in the corner as the manager with his cane that he really did use, but he hit a few people with it. And I'm in a ring, and I'm so nervous. I get to the ring, and I think, goodness, I need to go to the restroom. But I just went. But I got to go to the restroom. You get those nerves, right?
Right.
Back
Yeah.
then, it wasn't spandex; it was that old thick polyester.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like you were wearing a human girdle, and it was hard to breathe because the Mass Medics wore white all the way, and then the white hood.
Uh-huh.
And so, anyway, I wrestled Jerry Oates from Columbus, Georgia, and the Crusher, Jerry Blackwell, was running that show for the AWA. So I worked several of those shows. I started working with the AWA. Then a friend of mine called me and said, Dusty wants to know if you want to do jobs and stuff in Atlanta. I said, sure. So
Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I worked for Dusty Rhodes here in Atlanta. And then a guy had kicked me. I mean, if I remember correctly, what he did was he threw me against the ropes and he took 2 steps and raised his foot up instead of just taking 1 step and letting me come into the foot.
Uh-huh.
And it dislocated my jaw, and I was bleeding out of the side of my mouth. So I had to miss a match because of that. And I came back, and all of a sudden Kevin Sullivan's there, Wahoo McDaniel is there. Let's see, Butch Reed, Hacksaw Butch Reed, Shane Douglas, Sid Vicious was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was just unreal. In Steamboat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Terry Funk. Anyway, all these guys, and I'm thinking I died and went to heaven. I mean, all these guys that you've seen since you've grown up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I worked with them if they were injured or whatever the case was. I worked with them in their injury. If they were going to have a title push, I didn't want to get in the way of that. So I did not try to take any advantage. I knew wrestlers that did, and things didn't turn out too well for them.
Right.
But anyway, I did that, and then I went down to Florida and happened to do shots for Dusty again, and that's where I met Goldust, Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Al Perez, the Latin heartthrob. That's where I met Dallas Pate. He was a manager, and he had the Diamond Dolls and all that stuff there. I think he might have just started working in the ring himself. And the Italian Stallion. That's all I can remember right now. Oh, in
Mhm.
Atlanta, the Freebirds had showed up and things like that, and so working against those guys.
So at this point, how long were you then in, like, signed contract in with
I was in
them,
the
or?
mainstream.
Mhm.
They would pay me by spot, but
Okay.
they wanted me there for so many spots,
Uh-huh.
and I would go and work a tour. I'd fly into one city, drive to the other. In fact, uh, one of the short routes we would do, I think it was flying into Norfolk. I think probably Norfolk. Anyway, work Norfolk, then you'd rent a car and go over to either I forget which one's closer east, but you would work either Huntington, West Virginia, or Charleston, West Virginia. Then you would
Yeah.
work the other town the next night, and then the next day you drove to Cleveland, Ohio. You worked there, and then you flew to Atlanta and worked the next night. You worked television at Center Stage in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and so there was a lot of driving and everything. At this point, uh, after being in it for a while, what I did is I made the worst mistake a person can make is I forgot who I really was. I went from being Mark Smith, the guy who wrestled, to the wrestler Mark Smith.
Mhm.
And that is a big difference in the way you
Yeah.
describe yourself. In
Mhm.
fact, the wrestler Mark Smith is nothing but total ego, the person that will take advantage of any other person, that will lie, steal, and steal,
Yeah.
uh, because I would do anything to keep professional wrestling from to keep. I would do anything to keep something from getting in the way of me wrestling.
Mhm.
I think I said it right there.
Now,
Uh,
were you encouraged to pick up this persona of the wrestler Mark Smith, or?
no, it was me. It was me.
Okay.
It was
Mhm.
all ego.
Mhm.
And really, I mean, that's what happens to so many of the guys, and that is if they're out of wrestling, they lose who they are.
Mhm.
They're lost. They're lost in life.
Yeah.
There's one wrestler that uh, Brenda was with me when I did it, and if I say it, everybody will know who he is, so I won't say his name. But I stopped watching wrestling for a while when I left the business.
Mhm.
Uh, I like a lot of them. I was breaking into steroids. Let me say it that way. People weren't there were no wellness programs back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, through other people, they got to me too, and I was going to go to prison for 20 years. And it was a fact that uh, a sheriff there in town said, "Mark, just tell me what you can tell me. As long as you're honest, you're going to go home."
Yeah.
Because the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was sitting in the room and they were ready to haul me off in cuffs. I was that close.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was one conversation away from losing 20 years of my life.
Wow.
So at that time, was like God knocking at your heart?
Yeah, I mean, and I
Even.
was really torn up. Uh, what am I going to do? I'm not. I'm gonna wrestle. I know who I am if I wrestle. Uh, no, it's I'm not going to let other things get in the way. I don't want to have to start life over again. I don't want none of that. Come on. I was trying to make bargains.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll
Mhm.
go visit more kids in hospitals. I'll do whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, you do that.
Yeah.
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 And so, you know, I was a jerk to say it nicely, and uh, I fully deserved everything I had. Uh, and with God changing my heart and my life, and that relationship I was in, she walked out, and I was cleaning up the bathroom. I looked in the trash can. I was picking up things with my hand. I mean, it was just a few boxes or whatever. And there was a plastic stick. Well, I took it to my sister. She said it's a positive pregnancy test. Well, look, I don't know what happened. I'm not going to say anything did happen. I'm not trying to insinuate anything happened.
Yeah.
But what I can honestly say is that I continued trying to get in contact. And finally one day an aunt picked up the phone and said everything's handled. Now that can mean a few things.
Yeah.
But I'm not if you notice, I'm not up here and talking trash about names and stuff like that, thinking, oh, I'll get a few views from it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do that in the book either.
Yeah.
And so, I had met Brenda, and
this is a few years later.
Well, when I got out of the business, it was like a year and a half later.
Right.
Yeah.
And what started happening to me was crazy. Hey, I'll let you ask me the question. Mark, what happened in your life that was so crazy? Go ahead. It's for you, Tammy.
Well, I do have a question. Like, was the steroids, like, was that your rock bottom? Like, did something happen like that was your absolute rock bottom?
Well, no. I was falling.
Yeah.
But see, I had the choice of either saying, I got out of it. Okay, I'm going to go back in now into the business. But no, for me, this was, I'm hitting too many walls, man. Something's got to change. Yeah. And it was the pregnancy test that put me in the hole. That's when I hit bottom. Because I could be a murderer. I may have to answer for that. So at least I'm being honest about it. I'm being honest about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that we're always about on here. It's like we like to tell real stories about real life because, life is messy. And, that's the great thing about God is he can take whatever mess that we're in and use it for his glory. I mean,
That's right.
Because at that point, you were at a crossroads, basically, like a spiritual crossroad.
When I hit the bottom,
I
only saw one road because I knew I had screwed up so much. There was no other road to take. That's when I see, for me, hitting the bottom is just not being in a situation. Hitting the bottom is also realizing that you're such a screw up that there are no answers.
Yeah.
You're helpless. In that hole, I was helpless. I mean, people started tapping me. I went and I made amends to a lot of people. I know that's a AA term, but I made amends to a lot of people. People that never thought I would have walked up to them and said, I'm sorry. I walked up and said, I'm sorry. And word was getting around town, something had changed about me. People were actually telling me that the fire in my eyes was gone.
Yeah.
And then people were tapping me on the shoulder. This old man, I remember, I was walking to Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware, I just accidentally plugged you on a gift card. Anyway. Oh, man. I was getting so serious there. I needed that laugh. Wow. Anyway, I needed to laugh. But
anyway, old man.
Yeah, old man, Ace Hardware. he taps me on the shoulder, kind of hard. Make sure he gets my attention.
Uh-huh.
And I say, yes, sir. He says, I've got a word for son. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've got a word for you. And I thought, well, yes, sir. But if you keep tapping me on my shoulder, I'll have words to you too. I don't know. And he says, you do not have to go to school all your life to be a minister. Well, after I got out of high school, I went to college for 1 year, and I worked so hard at being stupid that I had a 1.11 GPA. I don't think anyone else has matched that ever in that college.
I believe that is the 13th spiritual gift.
Instead of the dean's list, I was on the janitor's list. Anyway, so I turned around and I knew I had to go see that dean. I had to apologize. Again, another amends. I wasted that opportunity. So I needed to go. I was not going to school again.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I remember looking up, and now when I hit the bottom, I said, okay, big boy, I need you now. Let's see what you got. I need you. And I was screaming and crying when I said it. But I looked, I said, I am not going to school. Use me, do whatever you want, but I am not going to school.
You never tell God what you're not going to do.
Yeah, well, I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
I went to see the dean, and I was kind of teary-eyed, and she just started crying. And she said, Mark, I think you need to do something. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, go to the bookstore and get your books and start class. And I'm looking up and I go, oh, you're funny. Oh, you're funny up there. You're funny. Anyway, I graduated with a 3.5. It just shows how mindset, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, things click.
Yeah.
The last time I was in that school, I think one of my biggest classes was Budweiser 101. But this last time, Mickey, it took you a while to get that one, buddy.
Well, I was like, yeah, wait a minute. Okay. Oh, ha, ha,
ha. It was part of turning the water into wine or something like that. Some kind of osmosis.
Science class.
But, man, what a change.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Brenda, and I get like 6 more people tapping me on the shoulder saying I got a word. Every one of them is saying, "You son, I just feel like I need to tell you, you don't have to go to school all your life to be a minister."
Mm-hmm.
Well, the school that I was at was a junior college.
Uh-huh.
So Brenda and I, we're dating. We go to an old-fashioned camp meeting. I mean, people were moving, and the way they were dancing, they looked like they were in a figure 4 leg lock or something. I mean, I was amazed the way those people were moving.
Uh-huh.
They were so agile. And I remember this one fella, he could run around the pews and he would cut the corners. Tell him about it.
Yeah, I was raised Southern Baptist. I'd never seen such.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he could make that turn and not hurt himself or anybody else. But that's when he got a word that was not told until much later.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the old lady that talked to you?
Oh, yeah.
Another poke you?
Oh, we were at the camp meeting, and a poke. Now, this woman she was probably a brunette at one time. She had gone to silver, to white, to blue, to purple.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, she looked like Prince, okay? You keep moving. I keep moving this thing, and you keep
I'm not moving. You keep moving the anyway.
I don't think anyway, if I am, we'll fight later. Anyway.
I'm just sitting here. Anyway, she poked you on the shoulder.
She said, and I had just prayed. Now, all right. Now, Brenda's right here and everything. I mean, is Brenda and I going to get married? Am I going to stay single? I mean, how about giving me a heads up?
Uh-huh.
Poke, poke, poke. Within 10 minutes. Son, I have a word for you. And I'm going, oh, crap, another one.
I'm already.
I'm so full of words. Anyway, so this woman says, what you have been praying for is right beside you. Now, beside me was like a 75-year-old man, and the other side was Brenda. Brenda was a better take. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I got a full ride to a school in Iowa for a year, and we had to get married real fast because we were going to go together. She told me she had got a word about marrying a minister, that it was okay or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what was your word?
Just that God was going to put me with someone and we were going to minister together.
Yeah.
Oh, all these words. Anyway.
And she hadn't told you that.
No. So, yeah, I have to hear it from Abraham Lincoln's prom date. If any of you out there personally knew Abraham Lincoln, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to insult. But anyway, so and we've got to rush the wedding because we talked to the school calls us, offers us this year free ride.
Uh-huh.
And we're going, what are people going to think?
Yeah, for us we were going to get married in August, but in May they told us, or maybe April, they said for you guys to qualify for married housing and all this kind of stuff, you've got to be married by this date.
Yeah.
So we moved our wedding up to June.
Uh-huh.
Then we moved to Iowa for a year. So I know people were thinking,
our parents.
Something bad happened.
Our parents wanted us to put out a public service announcement that she wasn't pregnant. Okay. So, I mean, or get a celebrity. Could you imagine Kenny Rogers at that point? Hello, folks. Mark Smith and Brenda Gentry. She's not expecting. Thank you. That's what their family was wanting. Okay. So anyhow, we get married. We go up there. We live through winters and everything else. And
it was a great year because being our first year of marriage and family being so far away in Georgia, I mean, we had to rely on each other. And we in our friend group were really kind of a little bit older. At least he was a little bit older than our friend group. We kind of became the parents of these young 18, 19-year-olds. Yeah. I was 21. He was 26. So we were young now that we think about it. But anyway, we began doing concerts and traveling all over Iowa and Illinois. And God really opened, especially me up. Because like I said, we were both raised in the Baptist denomination, me longer than him. And you get up to Oskaloosa, Iowa, and there aren't any Southern Baptist churches anywhere. There's nothing. I mean, nothing even, I don't think there was a Baptist church in that town or county. So God kind of opened my eyes and our vision of, if they praise Jesus and they love God, we can go there and we can sing to them and we can minister. And so we were going to all kinds of churches, big, small, in the middle of nowhere.
And we never asked for money.
But we were always, our needs were supplied in more ways than one.
Well, in Chicago, we had driven overnight. It was about a 5.5 hour drive normal to Chicago. And a snowstorm hit us, a blizzard. And within just a short time, hour and a half, it already snowed a foot.
Yeah, it took us almost 10 hours to get there to the church.
We were doing 3 concerts the following the next day. Like 9 and 11 or
and
a 1 or something like that, or it was
a lot.
Was it 2 in the afternoon?
I don't remember.
But anyway, our car had actually broken down. We had to get it to a shop. They had to tell us what they rigged it for us. We got back on the road and the blizzard hit. We get to Chicago near a Gansett Church of God. So what a darling church in Oak Park, Illinois. And we have $15 to our name. And this is how God works things. We didn't ask for anything. We told him everything was fine. The pastor had us stay at his house. We thought we were going to sleep the night. We ended up getting there about 7:15 in the morning. As soon as we got there, we had to start getting ready to go down and do sound check, rehearsal, the whole bit. We do all 3 services. We see one lady, her full leg from her hip to her ankle is in a cast, and she starts running down the aisle screaming, "I'm healed," and she throws down her crutches and she's running.
Praise the Lord. Yeah.
Well, we see that happen. We do the last one. We do the last song. And it's amazing. The last song we always do in concert is "I Can't Even Walk Without You Holding My Hand."
Yeah.
Because to me, that is so personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Because one of the verses say, "I thought number one would surely be me."
Yeah.
You know, that's what I thought, man. That's what I thought. But the Pastor Ed Thibodeau, got up, and we had no idea about anything. He said, "Folks, I think we need to talk a minute. Mark and Brenda came here, and they have not asked for one thing. They're in college, and I'm pretty sure they're having a lot of needs right now. I mean, just something spoke to Ed. He said, if you would, anybody, all of you who can, pull out your purses and your wallets, and let's see what we can do for them today." And it was like $600 or $700.
It was a lot back then.
Anyway, it not only paid our rent and stuff, it got the car fixed, and we were able to have one pizza for the first time in months.
Wow.
And but you know, it's something to see that kind of stuff happen.
Absolutely.
And you know, the book Wrestling with Demons. I had my demons. They're in the book. I'll tell you what they are. Insecurity. Not feeling like you have any value.
Yeah.
It is. If anyone's ever grown up in a home where either maybe the woman has always being treated like she's second fiddle or whatever, or there's verbal or physical abuse going on, that person, the person that is being abused, that's hearing those words, everything that's being done to them is tearing them down to where they're at the point they no longer know who they are.
Right.
They think they're supposed to be used. And they're lost if nobody uses them. Insecurity, worthlessness, anger. Don't you think a lot of us have to deal with a lot of anger? And there are some angers that we all have problems handling.
That's right.
But if that anger is not ever dealt with, it's going to fester like an ulcer, and it's going to cause bleeding.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like an ulcer and cause bleeding in the stomach. It's going to cause that heart and that soul to bleed. And what happens when you bleed to death? I look at these things, and looking at the news, and greed. Isn't greed a demon? I mean, one of those demons that just keep people alive, and it's because some people are afraid they're never going to have anything. Really, there's so much crime and so many things going on in our country, but something that is very real is not everybody. In fact, I don't believe most people are born thinking that with the intent of hurting someone else.
Yeah,
right.
They're being that behavior is learned,
right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so wrestling with those demons. When I see the carjackings, when I see the people being pulled out of their cars and beaten, when the people in Oakland, California, the people that work for the city cannot even go to work.
Yeah.
I remember when we watched that on Good Morning America. We can be on Good Morning America, cheap plug. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, yeah. But really, with all these things happening, there are some things inside each of those people that are causing this pain.
Oh, yeah.
And if we don't get to the root of what it is, our society is just going to keep getting worse and worse. And, I mean, what do we do? Well, what we're doing right now. I think we first got to let people understand that we understand that there are so many ways a person can hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're not going to really judge them for that. Rather, we would love to help them with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, that's the Christian message.
Yeah.
I mean, Brenda,
I do, and I was just thinking, it reminds me a lot of what he's talking about. You mentioned earlier, we have been foster parents, and we began fostering teenage girls, which transitioned into teenage boys. And anyway, but there's so much, you see so much dysfunction. A lot of these kids, it's not their fault that they're in the system.
Right.
And if they have done something wrong, it's something that they were taught by horrible experience. Mm-hmm. And so I think helping in that way, we became a therapeutic foster home and had to have lots of training and stuff. And he's been through a lot, and we've talked through a lot. We spent 20 years as children and youth pastors, and so we've dealt with young people a lot. It's really become a mission to try to help put some normalcy and love and guidance and discipline into children that were never given that.
Yeah.
And actually right now we're not fostering because we adopted 2 brothers back in April, and we're kind of taking a hiatus. And they're young, they're 7 and 13.
Right.
And we're wanting them to have normal, if we're going to go on vacation, we all go on vacation together, or we're not having to worry about, DCS coming to the house.
Or getting things signed by judges.
Exactly.
Like
they don't have to worry about any of that. And they love it. They
love
awesome.
It. Yeah.
So.
But one thing, too, that we're noticing is that people are afraid just simply of other people if there's a difference. It can be skin color. It can be upbringing. It can be where you're from.
Culture.
It can be a denomination. Absolutely. Because like a lot of different denominations, if you don't think the exact same way I do, then it's like, you're not right with God.
That's right. You're going to bust hell wide open because you don't worship the way I do.
Yeah.
And when you say that, we as part of, God's church, that's just one example where we should be able to understand people more.
Right.
Yeah.
We can look at ourselves in a lot of ways. And I think trying to relate when I look at myself and then I'm having to deal with the kids or whatever, they understand it better if I can pull a story to show, okay, we're talking on the same level here, somewhat the same experiences, and that helps.
Yeah.
The listeners tonight, I'm seeing you got some good viewers. That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
to the viewers, I mean, the viewers, we're on video also. I had to think for a second.
Yeah, where are we at?
Yeah, I know, really.
Yeah, we forget and still say tune in.
Yeah.
I know. I'm looking at you guys and I'm having to think, are we on video? Boom, boom, my brain. What can I say?
Uh-huh.
But to the viewers, the things we're talking about, from different forms of abuse to society and the wrestling business, and we getting full of ourselves and how it can lead to a road of destruction, to personal destruction. All of these things are really proof that we can do all the self-help things we want to do, but there's only one God. And
right.
if we don't allow God to speak to us and speak to us through other people, then we're probably going to be wrong a lot more than we're right.
That's right.
But the fact is hearing my story, I mean, look, you're talking that basically somebody that got to the point to where when I was saved and when things started happening to me, I was just a piece of trash. That's how I see. That's what I was. I was a piece of trash to humanity. And if God can take the way, some of you may not be looking at yourself in a good light, but if he can do that with me, I'm promising you, he can do that with you. Man, he can take the most broken down thing and make it look like it's brand new, and it will work like it's brand new.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that gets back to a term, renewal of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never experienced, I mean, just real love and contentment and being satisfied, that good satisfaction of knowing you're in a good place. Hey, Jesus can handle that problem.
That's right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so please, the other night when we were talking, I told him, I said, one thing that I've really learned is that no matter who it is, God does not make junk. I mean, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I turned myself into a piece of junk. And it took something supernatural for that to be changed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it wasn't by my strength. It wasn't.
Right.
It was by something a lot stronger than me, and it's the guy that got himself off the cross.
Yes, amen.
Well, it's when you finally stopped and basically put your hands down and gave it all over to God. Then he was able to pick you up and
that's right,
change things.
And it's true. We can win a lot more battles in life on our knees than we can with our fists.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I was thinking about is, I've gone to so many funerals of people that, the family gets up and talks about them and different things. And you go, man, I wish I knew more about them. I would have loved to have talked to them about this or that or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't want people to say that about me. I want to share with others what I've learned and what I've gone through. Now, that doesn't mean I'm just spewing all my stuff everywhere I go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many times we keep things to ourselves. I know we've got some older relatives that are like, don't talk about that. Nobody needs to know about that. Well, yeah, they do, because they might be going through it too. And if God tells me I need to speak to somebody, give them a word, maybe poke them.
Lord. Don't go that giving a word thing.
Who knows? But we should do that. We should take the things that God has shown us in our life, and we should share them with others. They may or may not listen. They may or may not learn. but at least we're doing what we can to share the blessings God has shown us and the wisdom that He's given us.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's what, too, it's what we tell our youth kids. It's like, you're not responsible for how they handle the message, but whatever it is, you are responsible to deliver it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And deliver it in a way that it can be understood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice when, like us talking tonight, I'm not using a lot of churchese
hermeneutics.
You're right. And I'm not speaking in old English. That was good, like that.
Yeah.
What I hope what people see is that what I'm talking about is real.
Yeah.
And in the book Wrestling with Demons, I mean, I'll tell you, somebody asked me, who is the villain in the book? They were ready for me to name a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. The true villain in the book, Wrestling with Demons, is me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the bad guy. And I thought I would never have the courage to be in front of people and to be able to talk this way. But, man, I tell you, it's exciting. It's exciting being on here with you guys. And I love, whether it's radio or podcast, whatever, I love to be on the air with people that are real and that they're sincere. And I appreciate you guys so much. I mean, I love y'all to death. Brenda knows how I feel about y'all. I've been talking about you.
And, we're just down home folk.
There you go.
That's it. And this is Brenda's first time doing a podcast with me.
We're honored by that.
Yeah.
And
but like I was telling you earlier, we ordered your book, so maybe after I read it, maybe we can do another one and actually have you guys minister in song.
Yeah.
Sure.
We could do something without a doubt.
Yeah.
And
I definitely want to hear that Can't Even Walk, since you brought that up.
Have you heard that song before?
Love it. Love it.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I got to really know that song through Quentin Mills and Charles Johnson. They were both out of the Carolinas. And Charles did a lot of gospel and rhythm and blues style. And Quentin was a rock and roller.
Yeah.
And he and Charles became very good friends. And I really had I have the honor of being a friend with Quentin. And so he's been a great influence. But, I just love that I Can't Even Walk, and what it says, down on my knees, that's where I learned to stand.
That's right.
I can't even walk without him holding my hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, listeners, we love you. We really do. Yeah. We can say that because Jesus gives us the freedom to, man, we just can love anybody.
That's right.
Thank you so much. We love you. And Mickey and Tammy, I mean, if you want to get in contact with us, they have our email and different things.
We'll share that in our group. Please. But if you want to give it out over the air, all your contact information that you want to give and where they can find your book, Wrestling with Demons.
Right.
Yeah, the book is on Amazon, Wrestling with Demons by Mark and Brenda Smith.
And we're, in fact, my Facebook, I started Wrestling with Demons .smith, and I'm getting a lot of people, quite a few people from the wrestling industry, and we've had some interest overseas in that. And so they've been contacting me on my regular one, which is Ira Mark Smith.
Okay.
So either way they want to contact us is fine, but we just want to share the message. And guys, y'all are the real deal. Listeners, I hope you know that they love you. This is a ministry. Yeah. Thank you so much. And Brenda and I, we love y'all, and we're going to be up that way soon to see you.
Okay.
Awesome.
All
awesome.
Right. Did you want to bring the boys in to let them say hey to us? Or
I can.
You gonna yell?
Jefferson?
Boys! I'd get up and go get them, but I had hip surgery, and so I don't walk very fast.
Oh, okay.
I will get away from the thing. Hold on. Boys!
They probably think they're in trouble.
I know. What do we do now?
Like, what'd I do?
I didn't yell, get your tail in here, so they shouldn't think I'm too. Are you going to try?
No, I can't. I got myself stuck here.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'll try.
Okay. Yeah, I've already told Colton, and he thinks he's going to be really smart with this. I says, Colton,
Okay.
you want to be a jokester a little bit? He said, yeah, Dad. I said, okay. When I tell you to say, hey, Colton, say, hey, Colton. So let's see if he can really do this. Okay.
Is this his first time on video?
Yes. We are actually on the interview. Jefferson, come here. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Say hello, Colton.
Hello.
Hi.
He did it. He did it.
Hello, Colton and Jefferson. It's nice to meet you.
They were adopted in April.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Our family looks like the United Nations. Good night, bud. We have,
are you skipping someone?
Let's see, 4 Caucasian, 3 of them are biological. An Native American Indian, 2 Hispanic children, and 1 African American.
Yeah.
And we told you that you need to pray for some Appalachians too to make the circle complete.
All right. We'll do it.
The circle of life.
Yeah. I had a guy today from Scotland. We're going to do our second round with him in a few weeks. And he was trying to do a Southern Appalachian accent with a Scottish voice. And I've had a headache. It was funny, but I've had a headache all day, and I'm not sure if it's exactly that's why it was, but it was like hello, brother, or let's go to Alabama and pick a little cotton or something like. Okay, it was weird. Yeah. I know the listeners didn't want to hear that. I'm sorry. I just your ears just started to bleed.
That was bonus content there.
There you go.
Let's just say his Southern accent is about as good as Mark's Scottish accent.
All right.
But yeah, we do. We thank y'all so much, and yes. I hope this is a relationship that continues. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
You're dear friends and your family to us.
And yeah, we consider it a kingdom connection.
Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome.
Well, Brother Mark, Sister Brenda, we just so appreciate you guys, and we thank you for coming on tonight, and the boys, and for sharing from your heart. Yeah. And I know our listeners were blessed, and we definitely want to have you back on here, and we'll be in contact. And we love you all. We appreciate you.
Well, we love you too, and all the listeners. You are loved. Remember, you're not junk.
Amen.
And that. Mickey and Tammy both love you as well, and you're never alone. Just please remember that. Yeah. And we wish all of you the best too. So Thank y'all. Mickey, Tammy, y'all are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye, everybody.